Hopefully you can hear me today over the waves. There's a little bit more wind than usual, but the waves are pretty though. So as part of my business consulting, I read a ton of books on business and communication and sales and everything else under the sun. My kids make fun of me because they say, you're reading another self-help book, huh? Because that's pretty much mostly of what I read, right? But one of them had this really cool story in there about, or I guess it was a scenario, about a guy who was a salesperson who really, as a salesperson, he feared rejection, which salespeople get all the time. And so he started thinking about it, and he realized that he played sports, and so he wasn't perfect at sports until he practiced it over and over and over again. So he thought he might get better at rejection if he practiced it. So he made a goal that he was going to be rejected every single day for 100 days. And he was going to purposely get rejected. So he was going to ask people to do things that he knew they would say no, just so he could get used to rejection. So he started off with simple things, like he'd walk down the street and he'd walk up to somebody and he'd say, "Hey, can you give me $1?" And they'd look at him like he was crazy and move on. And then he got a little tougher and he'd go up and he'd say, "Can you give me $100?" Of course he got rejected on those too. But then he threw in other things like, will you give me a hug? He's a stranger, so, would he get that or not? Would you like to have lunch with me? Hey, can you give me a connection? He just started asking random things that came into his head. And he figured he'd get rejected 100 out of the 100 times. The funny thing is, even though he was asking crazy things that he thought for sure he would be rejected for, over half of the time, like literally over half of the time, he got a yes. That even though he thought he was asking something totally ridiculous, people said yes. And what he realized is all the opportunities that he was missing out on because he wasn't asking the question. And I think in our lives, there's like a million things like this that we want to ask the question, but we're afraid of the no. Or we're afraid of trying something because what if we fail? And, and so we miss out on all these different cool opportunities. I remember years ago I was looking at a business condo for our business to put our roots down in, our first office outside of the home basement. And I don't remember what the cost was, but I thought it was crazy. And what if it failed? What if it wasn't a really good thing? What if my business didn't do well enough to need that office? And I didn't do it. Well, a year later, I bought the neighboring office for substantially more money. And I just thought, God, what if I had just taken the chance? What if I had, instead of thought of what might go wrong, I had thought of what might go right? And I think this applies to our personal life and our business life and pretty much every bit of our life. If we just thought about what might happen. And the other part of that is that what if they do say no? What if we are rejected? What if it doesn't work out? Well, most times we're no worse off than before we asked. So if you're thinking of reconciling with a friend, and you're thinking about, hey, could I have lunch with that person? But what if they say no? Well, are you any worse off if they do? You're in the same place you were before you asked. So most times, the question, the try, is worth the effort. So that was what I got from that. And hopefully that was a helpful story to you too. The sun has just peeked to the corner, and it's really hard to see on video, and I wish you could see it completely, but I'm going to keep it up for a while so that you can see it really crest those clouds. It's really, really pretty. If anybody ever wants to come down here in the morning and sit with me and do these with me live, I'd love to have your company. You can see it in person. It's really beautiful. Pretty cool thing. I tried to wait today. I usually come down here more at daybreak than sunrise, but today I tried to wait. So we'll see if it's any better. But thanks everybody for joining me today. I'm gonna let it run, let you guys listen to the waves, watch the sun come up, and I hope everybody has a lovely, wonderful day. The sun has arisen. What a glorious day you shall have. Have a great day, everybody.